All right, so if you just joined, I'm going to go ahead and end this because I have an appointment I have to get ready for anyways. But go back and watch it if you're interested. If you're interested in understanding my perspective of the mistakes that we're making in this world, the mistakes that we're making as parents, I'm not giving you the solution in this video. I sort of am, and if you study what I'm saying, like you'll get to the point of, okay, I can see what the problem is. But the actual solution is, unless you can access the programming that exists inside of you at a physical level, within total, complete self-awareness, it won't change. No matter what treatment or anything that you do, it will release maybe some of the energy that's built up around that thing. But you're the one, when you were 0 to 7 years old, that accepted that belief pattern. So no one can fix it for you. You have to become self-aware of the patterns that you've accepted. And the patterns that you've accepted are stored like on a computer disk, like on a computer hard drive. They're stored in your body, in your cells, as words. Just like a computer stores information as zeros and ones in a physical hardware format. It's like electrical switches. You can go on research. How does a computer store information? Your body is a biological computer, and it's programmed. So from 0 to 7 years, that's like a fresh computer with nothing installed on it, and then the parents are programming it like at the factory. But they don't really know what they're doing because they're not doing it deliberately. Some parents try to do it deliberately, but what's actually programming the child is your behavior and the way you interact with them and the way you speak and the way you live your life. That's what your children are learning, not the stuff you're telling them in school. You know, I listened to Elon Musk yesterday, and he made this really cool point. He's like, the way our brains are designed is that they're designed to discard information that we perceive as irrelevant. And so he was like, look at children in school, on average, in the vast majority actually, you don't really know why you're studying algebra, physics, history, economics, English, whatever. You don't really know why. So you just memorize it for a short period of time, but then your mind dumps it. How many of you on here remember how to factor a quadratic equation? I know how to do it. How many of you who studied calculus remember how to find a derivative or solve a differential equation? How many of you remember basic algebra stuff? Do you know how to add and multiply fractions? You might remember some of it, right? But if I said, now explain it to your child, you'd be like, no, I'd rather just hire a tutor. That's what I used to do. I used to tutor people, tutor children, students, because the parents couldn't do it because they couldn't remember any of it. And then the children are asking me, why am I learning this? And I would tell them, like, why do you think you're learning it? And they're like, well, I don't know why. I don't think I'm going to use any of this. And I said, do your parents use this stuff? They said, no. And I said, so I don't know. You're probably not going to use it. I said, here's my perspective of what I would do if I were in your shoes asking these questions. I would see it as an opportunity to solve a problem. Can I be in an environment and give myself a purpose within this, even though no one else is explaining what the purpose should be? It's an opportunity for a child to say, I'm going to set my own purpose. I want to be my very best, and I want to see if I can compete with myself. And if the game is memorize this information and repeat it back effectively, then that's the game. Can you play the game to the fullest extent? So that's how I would support children who are in school who I was tutoring. Of course, ultimately, that's not the best way, but you have to work with what you have, because if the parents are not totally on board of like, okay, now I really want you to educate my child, teach them real life lessons. Well, that's not what they're paying you for. They're paying you as a tutor to teach their child how to survive in the school system, which is basically a memorization game. Think about the people who thrive or who do the best in school, is those who memorize the best. And that, as Richard was pointing out in terms of people having certain aptitudes, is an aptitude people are born with, the ability to memorize. I have a very good ability to memorize, which is why I did very well in school. I was a National Merit Scholar finalist. There's only 15,000 out of the million students that take the PSAT. They only give that award to 15,000 students. And I got that award because of my score on a standardized test, because I have the ability to memorize. I have the ability from a young age to sound like I know stuff and I'm smart, because I can repeat back stuff that you don't understand. I mean, obviously I've been doing a lot of things and learning really what things are, so that is a limited skill. But the point is, when you think about it, that's the people who become doctors and lawyers. is able to memorize things, and then they specialize in a certain field, so it's even easier just memorize this information. But when you talk to doctors, I mean, we all know many of them don't really know what they're talking about. And when you show them solutions to things outside of what they learned in medical school, they will react. And they've made it illegal for anyone to offer any solution outside of what's taught in medical school. Why? Why would they do that? Because they don't want, well, we can go on a whole nother discussion about that. But the point is, in terms of memorization, you can't memorize the answer of how to interact with your spouse in a loving way. You can't memorize the answer of how to love your children. You can't memorize the answer of how to give as you want to receive. It's not possible. It's a living expression. What is life? Is life a computer program? Is life something that just every single moment is exactly the same? That's what it is at the moment. There's no such thing as life on this planet. It's not real. And I agree with you, Richard, we do live in a computer program. But the weird thing about it is, it's a physical reality. You can touch it. You can mold it. It's not a data simulation. It's a physical reality. You can feel it. The best clue as to what's real in this world is what you perceive through your senses. Although through drugs and through emotional trauma and all kinds of other things and mental illness, you can hallucinate, you can perceive things that aren't there. But your body is reading vibrational patterns in the world, and you're constructing a picture of it that you perceive as your mind. But what you see and the thing and the meaning you attach to things, like when I look at this tree, is this something that provides oxygen for me to breathe, and therefore I water it as a give and receive relationship? Or is it wood that I can use to make paper or to build a chair and I can sell it for profit? Or I can make particle board out of it and create shitty ass IKEA furniture that falls apart after a year deliberately so I can keep selling you more shit the next year. So the meaning that we attach to things is totally based on our behavior and our vocabulary and our starting point within learning vocabulary. Because if your whole purpose is just to survive, and this is the problem I have with Scientology, is they say that life is about survival. No, that's just how we've defined it. We've defined it as survival. We have defined the word life as survival. What does the word life mean? No word inherently has a definition. We are defining all of these words. And mostly we're accepting the definitions. As I was talking about earlier, we're accepting definitions of words from our parents, who accepted definitions from their parents, who accepted them from their parents, who ultimately learned all of this in school, which reinforces a certain viewpoint based on the desire to survive. But we could redefine the word life if we wanted to. We could redefine it as what's best. We could redefine it as in any particular environment, any particular expression, what would be the best optimal expression of that thing or of myself in that context. Best being defined as best for me and best for everybody else. And then people might say, oh, well, but you can't tell other people what's best. Nobody knows what's best. That is some serious brain disorder. That is some serious, proof that you have been brainwashed and miseducated by our world. If you believe that you can't determine what's best for you and everyone else, that doesn't mean you control everybody else. But think about it, the only reason everybody in the world wouldn't want to be their very best or do what is best for themselves and everybody else is if they don't understand the basic principle that if you want to receive something, you have to give it. That doesn't mean if I want a Nissan Maxima that I have to give someone a Nissan Maxima. It means that if you want to receive care and support in this world, you can't demand it from other people. You can, but then you have to control them, which means you're not giving care and support. And then eventually those people will resent you because they'll develop a personality of feeling like they're always being controlled, that they're not equal to you. And it's interesting because the most ruthless people in this world make the most money and control the most things in this world. But they're just setting themselves up for their inevitable fall because the people who, if a child goes to bed every night and is hungry, after a month or 2 months or a year, what kind of personality does that child develop? A personality of revenge? A personality of no one cares about me, a personality of I have to be a thief. And I talked about in another video, that child starts stealing, and then we lock them up. And we say, you've been bad. You've done the wrong thing according to society. But what about the people who have all this talent, all this money, all of these skills, all this creativity? I mean, think about it. I have Amazon Prime. I can go find anything I want online, basically, and in 2 days it can be at my doorstep. Why are we not utilizing that technology to make sure everybody receives a shipment of food at their doorstep every single day? Exactly what they need for their body, their nutrition, their preferences. Why are we not doing that? Oh, because it doesn't make us money. So now we get to the root of the problem. How have we defined life in our world as profit and loss? And how have we therefore created and accepted and allowed a monetary system that is based on profit and loss? Why are there not two systems? Why is there not a system of, okay, these are your basic needs. To be a happy, healthy, functioning human being who's able to express themselves fully in every moment, you need certain things. You need water, you need food, you need clean air, you need clothing, you need shelter, you need some way to communicate, you need like internet access. You could just look at what are the basic things. You need somewhere to poop and pee. You can't be pooping and peeing in your front yard and it's stinking up the neighborhood and causing diseases and stuff. You need proper sanitation. There's basic things. Whether you're the Queen of England or whether you're some child begging in the streets of India, you have to poop. And yet we're like, well, I don't want to poop in a hole, so I want a toilet, so I'm going to enslave a bunch of people to make toilets for me, but I'm not going to make sure they have toilets. I want to have nice Nike clothing, but the people who are in the factories, I'm not going to make sure they even have enough to buy the things that they're making. Now you could say, well, why are you wearing this Nike shirt, Cameron? Because I like it. Because what am I going to do? Just go find products that people sell that create an actual living wage for a person? Hey, show me the products and I will buy them. But now the question is, how much would those products cost? How much would a shirt actually cost if the person making it was being paid enough that they could have a life of ease and comfort? And then the question is, why the hell were they even making the shirt in the first place? These are problems that we have to solve as human beings. We need to figure this out. And the sad truth is, it's not going to happen in our imaginations. This is not like we just meditate and it'll just magically happen. There are actual real problems. The problem of how do we take a dump and remove the waste and do it in a way where we don't have to enslave other people to do it for us. We've never solved that problem. We've just put it off. We've just said, well, I have the ability to enslave people. I'm very creative and I'm very influential and persuasive, so I'll just get a bunch of people to haul my crap away every day. But I don't really care about them. And so what happens is they don't have enough money to survive, so they're willing to do it. But think about the self-esteem level you'd have to like clean toilets all day. I would not do that. I would find a way to do anything other than that. So then maybe I have to clean my own toilet. Interesting. Because people will say, well, if everybody has all their basic needs met, like imagine for a moment if you woke up every day and even if you didn't get out of bed, you're just laying in bed and you knew you'd have enough food, water, shelter, clothing, etc. without even moving a muscle. How would you feel? What would you do differently? What kind of things what would we do together as human beings? But then you might think, well, how the heck could that be possible? Well, someone's going to have to do that work. So we're going to have to use our creativity to actually solve real problems instead of our creativity to enslave people so we don't have to solve the problem. It's not justifiable to say, well, but we need McDonald's workers. Who's going to make the burgers? Well, let's be creative. Let's figure it out. But then you got to realize, well, but I have to survive right now in this competitive system. So it's a very difficult situation that we find ourselves in. Which is why, if you're hearing what I'm saying, we have to drop our egos and we have to work together and cooperate. And we have to listen to each other. And this is a who do you listen to thing. Because what am I really saying? I'm saying we can actually create a world of harmony and peace on earth. But it's not going to happen through meditation. It's going to happen through actually physically standing up in this world like I'm doing right now and talking to people who are willing to listen, who are saying, hey, I understand what you're saying. I don't see all of the points. I don't have all the dots connected, but what are my skills? How can I contribute? How can I contribute to solving these problems? Because at the very least, if we put enough information out there talking about this, then our children or our children's children will be able to pick up the problems and we'll be able to, because of what I know how to do and what I share with people, is how to actually effectively educate yourself and your children so you can remove these limiting belief patterns, actually, not just think you did it or hope you did it, actually do it. Because if you don't see the results showing up in your life, like immediately, that means you didn't do it. It means you're just lying to yourself. It's like, my business is going great. Really? How much money did you make? Oh, well, we're not really making any money yet, but I just know it's going great. It's like, well, until you have the measurable result, maybe you are doing the right actions and it's going to take some time. But think about it. Like, if you're like, I love my children. I really love them. Okay, how come they're not eating tonight? Well, I didn't really want to go to work today and get food to give them, or, get money to get food. Well, how are you saying you love your children? Well, I just feel like I love them. It's like, but where's the evidence of that? Where's the measurable thing that I can see that shows that you actually love them? Because if you really love someone, you would do whatever it takes. That's what you would do for yourself. And in the world we live in, that equals having to go out there and do a bunch of crap you probably don't want to do. Maybe there's a way that you can make a lot of money in this world. Maybe there's multiple ways, but maybe there's one way that you can make a lot of money in this world, and actually, through the more money you make, you actually support people to change and then deal with these problems effectively in this world. I know what that is. I'm not going to explain it here because it's not something that I can explain in a public fashion where I can explain all of it and handle people's objections, because everyone's going to have their own filtering system that I have to speak to and help them see past that. Right? That's why direct sales is the key. It's the key to selling a product of worth and integrity in this world, because if you try to do it online, you probably can't say the things that you want to say legally, and even if you could, Google AdWords isn't going to let you do it. That's why they didn't let people like Trump, or anybody who tries to challenge the system at any level. I'm not saying I agree with everything Trump's doing, but I'm saying he was challenging certain power structures. Google wouldn't even let him run ads. So you think they're going to let, if you have something of worth that's actually going to free people, do you think Google's going to let you run ads? No. Do you think Facebook's going to let you run ads? No. Do you think they're going to let you say it on an infomercial? No. Look what happens to people who do that. They end up in jail even though they've never even been convicted of a crime. So that's kind of a tangent in a way, but I think it might apply to what Richard is working on, because it sounds like you're doing some kind of direct sales stuff or meeting people one-on-one in the home or something. I want to know more about what you do, and I'll share with you what I do, and maybe there's a way we can work together. I think probably there is, but I'd have to know more about what it is you're actually wanting to do. All right, so I'm back at my home. So I have not been reading these comments because I'm just walking and talking. But I'll go back through and look at it. But anybody who wants to make a video response, do it. Let's have a conversation. We can do like a conversation. I think you can go on here and actually have multiple people talking. I don't know how it works though. So if anyone knows, I think you just invite people to join, but it looks like Richard wasn't able to. So if anybody wants to do a chat and wants to invite me to talk as well, I'd love to do it. Of course, I have to do it with my schedule. But these are things to consider. So I haven't really expressed all of this completely fully, like in a video like I have right now. I mean, not that I've expressed it fully, but I've given a lot more than I normally would do in a post. Because a lot of times you can't say everything, because if a person reacts, but you're not there physically with them to see the reaction, you can't ask what it is and then go further. So a lot of times what I do online when I'm posting stuff on my comments, some people are like, wow, you're such an asshole. Yeah, I'm doing it on purpose. Do I seem like an asshole though? Really though? No, I like people. I like myself. It's fun also to push people's buttons. But I'm doing it deliberately so that it's like the person can react and then they'll spew more out. The stuff that they wouldn't say if I just was very calm. They wouldn't say what's really going on in here. So when you get a person to react, then they just start spewing it out and you can say, now I can direct it. And you'll notice in my comments a lot of times the person will be attacking me, and then by the end they're like agreeing with me. And it's not because I'm mind controlling them. I'm just able to then take apart what they're saying and then show them the reality or the common sense within it. It doesn't always work. And if people become very aggressive, I just unfriend them. I'm like, bye. And they'll from that be like, oh wow. They'll react, or they'll go into some time loop, or they'll have to face the consequences of what they feel or believe. So it's not my responsibility to control everything in their life. That's their responsibility. So just a clarification on why I act the way I do a lot of times in my comments and my posts is because I'm trying to provoke reactions. So when people say to me, well, you shouldn't talk to people like this and that and all that, I'm like, then why are you trying to tell me what to say right now, you dumb shit? Like, think about it. Like, you're trying to tell me how I should interact with people, saying that I'm not interacting the right way. How do you know how I should interact? You don't know. You don't know what I'm doing. You don't understand it. So if that's not for you, if you want to just put on a pretty face because you want to sell something to people, then do that. That's fine. I understand you have to be honest with yourself in terms of how the world functions, and you don't necessarily want to be a jerk. But if you're feeling the need to point out what I'm doing and something you don't like about it, you're probably reacting. And you're probably not being honest with yourself about it. And you're just trying to control me because I provoke reactions within you to make you feel uncomfortable. And you don't want to experience that. But you should be grateful. You don't even have to express gratitude. I'm just saying, within yourself, if you think about it. If those of you who have studied the Gen material, anytime something negative happens, you should immediately say to yourself, I am thankful and grateful for this, and I know this is going to work out to my benefit. And the moment that habit becomes unconsciously competent, your life is going to change, because you'll look forward to negative things, because you'll realize the negative things that happen in your life, the negative experiences, the negative feelings, was already inside of you, and those are things that are limiting you. So by having that emotional reaction, it's like you're shaking it up, and then all the stuff can come to the surface because there's like ice on the river and you can't get the stuff underneath it out that you don't want in there, all the pollutants. So you got to break up the ice and you got to pull the stuff out. So engage me on Facebook. And I will be very direct. I know the answers of how to solve all of this, but I cannot do it alone. One person cannot save the world. Jesus couldn't save the world. Buddha couldn't save the world. Lao Tzu couldn't save the world. All they could do was keep putting their message out there until enough people came together and stood up and said, we're no longer accepting a world where 21,000 children die every single day of starvation. It's not acceptable. That shouldn't be occurring. And if any of you motherfuckers are going to sit here and tell me, I'm in bliss, I'm totally happy, I'm very happy with who I am, fuck you. Because you know what? I just told you that every day 21,000 children die of preventable causes. And how are you still happy? Because if you are, that is fucked up. And I'm not judging you, I'm just saying, like, look at that for yourself. I just don't understand how you can be happy knowing that children are dying, unless you're deluding yourself by saying, well, they're creating it because of what they're focusing on. Okay, then if you think that, you're about to eat those words, and you're going to have to experience the consequence of those words. Because there's going to come a day where you're not going to have money, and then you're going to be sitting there thinking, well, I'm creating this somehow. And you're going to realize, fuck, how am I creating it? It's actually indirect. It's because there's a money system that prints fake money and charges interest and doesn't just guarantee that a child, when they're born, has all the support they need and the parent has enough money to stay at home with their child and enough food for proper nutrition. Because if you don't give your child proper nutrition in their developmental stages, their brain won't develop fully and they won't be an effective, fully functional human being. But a parent has to have the resources, they have to have the education, they have to know what to get nutritionally. And the nutrition that you should be eating is probably based on the genetic errors and your blood type and all kinds of stuff that's like very complicated. But think about it. No one is actually selling that solution in a mass scale because there's no profit involved. Because they want people to be sick. Because there's more profit in selling drugs. Because if you show someone how to eat properly, you don't have to, then you're done. Like, all you can do is sell them food. But then if it's just the proper food, which is like fruits and vegetables, like, you could grow that in your own garden. So there's a reason why none of this information is out there, and there's a reason why our education system is designed to make you stupid. So you can't just be like, duh, how come children are starving? Oh, it's because they're creating it and actually they want to starve, and it's their opportunity to experience contrast. Okay, from here on out, if you say that to yourself and you justify it, then I don't ever want to see you ever complain about any single thing that ever happens to you because you're creating it. Or you can just be self-honest and realize that there's a system that we're all accepting and allowing that is creating these problems. And it's not something you can do about on an individual basis. Because the system that runs our world, even if, think about a Starbucks franchise. Every day, if you're a Starbucks person, if you're the guy who owns Starbucks or whatever, the CEO, and you want to get your Starbucks coffee to every single person on the planet, or millions of people on the planet every day, What do? You create these franchises and you put workers there and they follow a system. But if the people in that Starbucks get fired, they just replace them with new people and it still works. That's the system that runs our world. It's like a system that if one person stops doing it, another person will step in and they'll do it because they have to survive, and that's the justification. So this is not something one person can do. So when I say things like, oh, I know the answers how to solve these problems, I do. But that's not an ego thing. That's not like I'm the superhero savior that's going to save everybody. I'm not. The point is we all have to get on the same page. Imagine if we had a mastermind of people who wanted to make a difference and understood how reality actually operates and removed all delusional thinking, all mystical thinking that placed any responsibility outside of ourselves. That doesn't mean we can take full responsibility for every single thing, but at the end of the day, every single thing that happens in this world is due to every single person's participation. So the more people we bring in and show them the solutions of how to behave and how to actually change their behaviors and thought patterns, which I know how to do at a fundamental level, that really works. Imagine if everybody was doing that. That's the purpose of groups like NeoThink, the purpose of groups like Destiny, the purpose of groups like Jinn. It's not for you to feel good about being a part of a group. Although if you've never had that experience, that may be a necessary thing for you to walk through so you can be like, oh, okay, I'm getting that thing I needed. But the purpose is to grow so we can actually expand and tackle problems in this world and create the heaven on earth that we all know deep down it could be. But as long as we expect someone else to do it, or someone else to come in and fix things, or that there will be something better when we die, newsflash, not going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what happens when you die, but let's just look at it with some common sense for a second. You know yourself better than I do. I know myself better than you do. And I want you to look deep down inside and look at all the things you do, the little times you are irritated with people, or you do things, or you gossip, or you act in ways that aren't best. First of all, why would you deserve to go to a better place after you die? Especially if you're not willing to do anything about the problems that exist here. And second of all, what if where you go when you die just becomes the consequence of who you are when you're there? And I would suggest that's the world we live in right now. It's the consequence of who all of us are. It's not something that's happening to us. We're creating it. And unless we change who we are and then measure that change by the reflection of the change in the world, because that's what the purpose of physical space-time reality is. It's a way to measure your internal change, because it's very easy to lie to yourself and think that you've changed. But unless you see a difference in how you communicate and the effect it has on people, it's like, how do you know if homeopathy works? Because you take a homeopathic remedy and the symptom goes away. How do you know if a prescription drug works? Because you take it and the thing goes away. You know, and we can argue all day long about symptoms versus curing the thing. That's not my point. How do you know if your internal change is real? Is if there's a measurable change in the world. It's not going to be if people stop starving, because what's the first thing we have to tackle is the system that runs the world, that we've given our power to, that takes responsibility for feeding everybody. It's not doing that. We have to adjust that. So we need politicians, we need lawyers, we need health practitioners, we need educators, we need psychologists who all do things from the perspective of what we understand, not from the perspective of what the system wants us to do, because the system is just like our mind. It serves itself. It's doing what we designed it to do. It's our creation. But it's like Frankenstein. Frankenstein created this monster because he didn't really consider all of the details of what it would be to create an artificial life. And then the monster started just kind of doing its own thing, and people didn't understand it, and there's a whole story there. But my point is, as an analogy, we've created a system that now runs whether we participate or not now. Because even if you stop participating, you go off in the woods and like survive and live in a bunker, the system's still running. And then if you're doing that, you just only care about your own self-interest. So there's no point in even being a part of the discussion if you're just trying to only serve your own self-interest. But as we know from the analogy of being in a flight with the oxygen mask, we do have to put our own oxygen mask on first. So that's why we have to become wealthy. That's why we have to become influential, so that we can then help other people. But remember, lesson number 1, and your wish is your command. Who do you listen to? If you're not wealthy, or you don't have real measurable success in a field, people will not listen to you. If you don't have a degree, but you're trying to be a doctor, talk about health, but you don't have a degree in health, in this world, people may not listen to you. Who would listen to you? Jinn members, neo-thinkers. They'll listen to you because they're like, I know you don't need the degree. But then you better make sure that you know what you're talking about and you're providing real solutions that help them. I'm getting a lot of cool comments. Unfortunately, I can't look at them all right now and respond, but okay, I'm going to sign off because I'm probably running late now for an appointment. But take a look at the video if you're just joining. Give me some feedback. Make a video response. And let's get some conversations going. Hey, good morning. And then let's keep talking about this, all right? Because it's important stuff. It's really the only thing that matters. It's our actual purpose. But we have to give ourselves this purpose, not the purpose that was given to us. Because that purpose, if you watch The Matrix, it's like you're a battery. You're just here to make some system function. You're just a number. But I think we're more than that. But we have to figure out for ourselves how to be that more. All right, so let's talk next time. Have a good one. Bye.